Welcome to another episode of Helmets Off. I'm Scott Mitchell, your host. Helmets Off is now on. This last weekend in college football, it was big rivalry week. And I ask you this question: is it possible for two teams to actually win in a rivalry game? I think there is. So Utah, BYU played its traditional rivalry game, which has been moved to the beginning of the year recently, and it was now played the last game of the season. Came down to a dramatic finish. The Utes came back from a 20-point deficit and won by 8 points in the last few minutes of the ball game, where BYU had just been dominant the whole game. And I think it surprised a lot of people because Utah is a very good football team. They're playing for the Pac-12 South Championship on Friday with a chance to go to the Rose Bowl. And BYU's had kind of a middle-of-the-road season. They're now 6-6 on the year. They've started a freshman quarterback about 5 games into the season, and it's had mixed reviews. And so how is it possible that two teams can win a rivalry game? Well, let me tell you how it's possible. You have to look at what is the objective of these teams. Sure, they want to win this game. There's no question they want to win this game, but Utah is in a much different place in its growth and development as a program as opposed to BYU. BYU head coach Kalani Sitake is in his 3rd season, and they're really trying to find their identity. They're an independent team. They aren't affiliated with a conference, and they've had a tough row of it the last few years about who are we and what is our program really all about. And and on the other side, you have Utah, which is, look, we finally turned the corner. It's this first time since we've been in the conference that we are going to play for the championship, and they were the only team in the Pac-12 South who hadn't. So here this team has finally turned that corner, and the program's improved. Well, here's why I think that both of these teams won. First of all, BYU's trying to find its quarterback, and they found him. And Zach Wilson is a special talent, and he really showed up big time in this game. And he showed up big, especially not having a lot of supporting cast around himself. He made some tremendous throws in the game. He had some great catches by his receivers. He ran the ball efficiently, and he was just a fierce competitor in this game. And he's special. And he kind of showed that he has a new gear, that we haven't seen the ceiling of Zach Wilson, which tells you this guy is talented, and we're just seeing the beginning of how good he really can be. If you look at a lot of programs, in fact, Utah had a similar situation where a year ago, they actually started Tyler Huntley. And so you have these freshman quarterbacks who are kind of trying to figure things out. They're seeing situations for the very first time. Zach Wilson saw this rivalry game for the first time. He was playing a tough opponent on the road with a really good defense. And so you're going through all of these growth pains with these new quarterbacks. So BYU is going. That's what they're going through this year. It's not a hey, we're going to win a championship. It's not that we're going to win 9-10 games in a season this year. We're going to learn how to develop our young quarterback. That's really what this is about, and about finding their identity as an offense and as a defense. Well, they have something very solid to build around right now in Zach Wilson, and they put a couple of pieces in there with him, a solid running back, and you get a big play receiver along with the other cast. BYU is a really good football team, and that's what they found in this game. And you want to ask my opinion? That's a win. And I'm not a moral victory guy. Believe me, it's cut and dried. You know, winning is what it's all about. But it isn't about that with BYU this year. It's about finding out who they are and finding something really concrete that they can build their future around. Now, on the other side of it, well, how did Utah win? Well, they won the game. And they were supposed to win the game. And it would have been a huge embarrassment. It would have been a huge disappointment, a huge letdown for where Utah is right now, because Utah's headed to the Pac-12 championship game. And to have that bitter taste in their mouth of this defeat would have been something I think maybe they might not have gotten over. And Utah, too, has a young quarterback, a redshirt freshman, Jason Shelley, who just continues to be very steady and make plays, and just no situation, no circumstance, no pressure really at this point has gotten under his skin. So for Utah, not only to have this momentum going into the Pac-12 championship, it also helps Utah in its bowl position for the end of the season. And why is that important? It's important because people are going to look to next year. Utah essentially will lose 1 starter on offense and 4 starters on defense, with a lot of guys that are already in play to replace the guys on defense. So Utah's going to be a team that will probably be one of the favorites to win the entire Pac-12, and it's very possible Utah could be even considered as one of the top teams for the playoff race next season. They're that good, and they're still really young, and they're going to be even better next year. So I know one team has to physically win the game, and especially in these rivalry games, you love to have that, bragging rights. But what I got out of this game was that actually both of these teams won, which I think is a cool thing. All right, Helmets Off is now off. You can text Helmets to 65537. Go to those social sites and like us. Dial us in on that smartphone of yours. And until then, we will catch you soon.